Welcome to my views and news. Breaking news is about Tigray conflict. Ethiopian government today rejected any EU-US involvement in the resolution of Tigray conflict. And Ethiopian government spoke about Tigray's demand too. Tigray has been demanding the resumption of basic services before the start of talks. Meles Alam, Ethiopian foreign ministry spokesperson, spoke in detail about Ethiopian government's position. Can EU-US be part of the team of negotiators, which was claimed by Ethiopia Reporter, a magazine a few days ago did a video on that. But today government rejected all these rumors and government spoke in detail what is government's position. And government spoke about the role of other people as well who could be involved along with Obasanjo. The question is, what will Tigray do now? Which options are available for Tigray after today's press briefing by Ethiopian Foreign Ministry spokesperson? Secondly, viewers, US Special Force commander today arrived on Ethiopia-Somalia border. Some meetings have been held there with participation of US officers, African Union transition mission officers in Somalia and Somalia's National Army. The meetings were held regarding a new offensive on Al-Shabaab. Thirdly, we have a new story about Gurage zone. Gurage people, 2 days ago, there was a general strike observed across Gurage, especially in capital city. People are rejecting a cluster arrangement in which a new state, 2 new states are being created in SNNPR, and Gurage will be part of some other zones and a special Warada. Today voting was held at Gurage Regional Council. What was the result of this voting? SNNPR president was also there when voting was held. And lastly, European Union today shared its prerequisites for engagement with Ethiopia. EU suspended financial aid for Ethiopia last year. Since last year, Ethiopia has been trying to get this aid resumed. So far, financial aid has not been resumed by EU. And some EU ambassadors have been briefed by Ethiopian government officials about Ethiopian government's efforts to resolve Tigray conflict peacefully. But today, European Union shared 5 prerequisites that these prerequisites should be met before the start of engagement with Ethiopian government. Firstly, viewers, Meles Alam is Ethiopian Foreign Ministry spokesperson. He replaced Dina Mufti a few weeks ago. Today he held a press briefing, weekly press briefing. Journalists asked questions about mediation efforts to resolve Tigray conflict. In recent days, we saw 2 news stories, 2 developments regarding Tigray conflict. Firstly, Ethiopia Reporter, a magazine, claimed in an article that African Union agreed to accommodate EU, US and UN officials to be part of team of mediators to resolve Tigray conflict through dialogue. It was said that from African Union, Obasanjo, from EU, Annette Weber, from US, Mike Hammer, and from UN, Under Secretary General will be part of team of negotiators, team of mediators. which will oversee this political process of talks between Ethiopian federal government and Tigray regional government. We were waiting for some official response from Tigray regional government and Ethiopian federal government. Secondly, a document was leaked which was allegedly briefing notes of African Union's PAPS committee, Political Affairs, Peace and Security Committee. And that document stated that African Union's mediator, Olusegun Obasanjo, recommended inclusion of Eritrea in the upcoming talks. So we were waiting for Tigray's response and Ethiopian government's response to these two recent developments. Today, Ethiopian federal government through its Ministry of Foreign Affairs spoke. What did Meles Alem say? Firstly, Meles Alem said, there cannot be any parallel mediation. Mediation will only be led by African Union. So he rejected the possibility of a parallel peace process, one led by some other players like EU, US and UN. Firstly, can African Union involve other people as well, other players as well? He said that prominent personalities from Africa can be involved by African Union, by Obasanjo if necessary. Prominent persons from Africa, not from EU, US or UN. Second point. And thirdly, he said that international community can play its role, but its role will only be limited to providing logistical, technical and financial support to this mediation led by African Union. Means EU, US, UN can fund the commission, African Union Commission, which is mediating Tigray conflict. Otherwise, no leading role can be given to EU, US and UN. So Ethiopian government rejected Ethiopia Reporter's news story that African Union had agreed to accommodate EU, US, UN officials for talks between Ethiopian government and Tigray government. Secondly, Meles Alem spoke about leaked document of PAPS committee's meeting. He said that Ethiopian government contacted African Union, it contacted PAPS, and according to African Union, this document is false, it's fake. So the question that will Eritrea be part of talks or not needs no answers because the document is fake. The document was shared by several people, by some analysts as well. But African Union, Ethiopian government, they say this document is fake. It means there is no likelihood of Eritrea being part of negotiations, though he did not address the question directly. Will Eritrea be invited or not? Did not address the question directly. But he said that document is fake. Thirdly, resumption of basic services. Meles Alem said that Ethiopia will never accept it as a precondition that basic services should be restored before talks. And resumption of basic services requires a study, assessment of security, safety and regulations. After conducting this assessment, resumption of basic services can be done. So, he is rejecting immediate resumption of basic services. How long will this assessment take? No one knows. How long will the studies take? No one knows. And lastly, he said that Tigray People Liberation Fund is not committed to peace process. It is making war preparations. but Ethiopian government is committed to peace, and it is ready to talk anywhere and anytime, but only under the leading role of African Union. So today, Ethiopian government reiterated its position. Talks will only be led by African Union. No resumption of basic services before talks, and no other players will be involved in leading role. Now, question is, what will Tigray do? Which options does Tigray have? Tigray now has three options. It can either start talks in existing situation, that without resumption of basic services, it can start talks with Ethiopian federal government. Though Tigray has been saying it will not talk, there must be resumption of basic service first. So this is the first option available for Tigray. Second option is that Tigray should keep on contacting international community. That IC should pressure upon, it should put pressure upon Ethiopian government for resumption of basic services, and then talks should start. So second strategy could be that Tigray should keep on involving, contacting international community for increased pressure upon Ethiopian government. And third option is military option, that Tigray should start some sort of military offensive to make Ethiopian government agree to Tigray's preconditions. Now, military offensive cannot ensure, cannot guarantee resumption of basic services. If Tigray attacks Amhara region, Afar region, Western Tigray, basic services will not be restored. Electricity, banking, telecom will not be restored, even if Tigray starts a military offensive. So, military offensive can be launched to take back Western Tigray, Humera, Volgai, Sagade. Otherwise, even if Tigray starts military offensive, it will not lead to resumption of basic services immediately. Yes, if the offensive goes on for some times and Tigray gains military advantage, then we could see resumption of basic services. So Tigray's options are very limited now. What will Tigray do? That remains to be seen. I think Tigray government will issue a statement in coming hours about this key press conference by Meles Alem of Ethiopian Foreign Ministry. Secondly, viewers, Ethiopia-Somalia border, Al-Shabaab is now targeting Ethiopia. In previous video, we reported about Al-Shabaab's presence in Ethiopia as well. US is becoming involved. US with consultation of other players is about to start ground offensive on Al-Shabaab. Today, a US top commander was seen in the Hiran region of Hirsha Bale, federal member state of Somalia. In Beledweyne, reportedly US Special Operation Commander and Somalia's National Army Commander General Adwa held a meeting. African Union's transition mission commander was also there, and discussions were held regarding operation to counter, to contain Al-Shabaab. In recent days, we have seen Al-Shabaab attacks intensify across Somalia, in Hiran region as well. There has been ongoing fighting between Al-Shabaab and Somalia's forces, between Mataban and Mahas towns. There was heavy fighting in recent days between Al-Shabaab and Somalia's forces, and US conducted 3 airstrikes in Hiran, in which 4 Al-Shabaab fighters were killed. Ethiopian forces are involved as well on this front. Reportedly, Ethiopian forces are building military bases near Beledweyne in Hiran region on Somalia-Ethiopia border. So overall, we could see a joint military offensive on Al-Shabaab in coming days. US special forces will be involved. US was conducting airstrikes on Al-Shabaab positions. We have seen several airstrikes since Hassan Sheikh Mahmoud came to power in May. Now US is going to be involved on the ground. That is why this US channel was seen in Beledweyne, Hiran region today. Lastly, viewers, Gurage Regional Council held voting today to decide whether Gurage should be part of a cluster arrangement or it should be a separate regional state. 2 days ago, in some towns of Gurage, in capital of Gurage, there was a general strike observed by all public and private institutions. The transport came to a standstill and people protested against a likely arrangement in which Gurage will be part of some other zones and special Wareda in a separate regional state. We know that 16 zones and regions of SNNPR are going to be 2 regional states, and Ethiopian House of Federation is considering this request by the 16 regions and 16 zones and special Waredas to be made into 2 separate regional states. We know that Wolaita people are rejecting this cluster arrangement. Wolaita wants to be a separate regional state. Same is the demand of Gurage. 2 days ago, protests were held. And today, Gurage Regional Council held voting whether to be an independent state or to be part of cluster arrangement. Risto Jirda, SNNPR president, was also there when voting was held. 97 member regional council there are 97 members of this regional council of Gurage and 92 members voted. 52 voted in support of a separate Gurage regional state of Ethiopia. 40 supported cluster arrangement that Gurage should be part of some other regions for a separate regional state. So it means that majority has now voted in favor of a separate Gurage regional state. Government is recommending that Gurage should be part of Hadia, Halaba, Kimbata, Timbaro, Silte and Yem special Wareda. But Gurage Regional Council has rejected this cluster arrangement. It wants Gurage to be a separate regional state. Same is demand of Wolaita region, Wolaita zone. Let's see what will Ethiopian House of Federation decide. That remains to be seen. Lastly, viewers, EU's Joseph Borrell today shared EU's prerequisites for engagement with Ethiopia. EU suspended financial aid for Ethiopian government last year after the start of Tigray conflict. Since then, Ethiopian government has been making efforts for the resumption of financial aid by EU for Ethiopian government. EU has laid out 5 prerequisites for engagement with Ethiopia. Firstly, it says that negotiated ceasefire should be put in place. The 2 sides should talk and they should negotiate a ceasefire. Secondly, Eritrean forces must withdraw. Thirdly, from Tigray. Thirdly, unfettered humanitarian access to Tigray. Fourthly, resumption of basic services in Tigray. Fifthly, accountability for war crimes, for human rights abuses committed during Tigray conflict. It seems that there is no likelihood of EU-Ethiopia engagement because Ethiopian government today made it clear that basic services cannot be restored immediately. study will be conducted, assessment will be conducted, then a decision will be made. Thank you for watching.